Well, hi, everybody. International meeting. I'm very excited to be here. Kara asked me a while ago, and this was a great Wednesday that would work for me. So my name is Mo H, and I'm a recovered compulsive eater, sugar addict, and I live in Walnut Creek, California, which is Northern California. Um, so my story. Well, I like to start my shares off with one statement that I learned probably on the vision meeting. There are four truths about this killer disease that compulsive overeating is a permanent condition. Number two, it's progressive disease. Number three, it's very patient. And number four, without spiritual help, it is fatal. And maybe some of us know people that have died of this disease. I've definitely know entertainers who have. Okay, so my beginnings were I was raised on the East Coast. I had one older brother, and when I was young, my parents put me and my brother in dancing school. And so from the age of 3 on till about probably 18, my brother and I were a dance team. And so there was a lot of exercise with that. We would go to school, then we'd come home. Then my mother didn't drive, so we'd catch the bus and go to Washington, D.C. to take dancing lessons. And then we come home and we do our homework. So we were just busy little people. Uh, you know, I don't remember a sugar addiction at a young age. And if I had it, it was kept at bay because of all my dancing, all the exercise, because besides the classes and entertaining outside was also practicing at home. My parents had an entire basement that was made out like a studio, and we would go down there and practice every day. So also another little quick hint, at 9 days of age, I had to have a minor surgery done, and I was told that they put the anesthetic in a sugar cube. Now, I don't know if that's correct because I was only 9 days old and I don't know what medicine was like back in those days. But if that's true, when I was doing my fourth step, I associated sugar with easing pain. And I thought, well, maybe that's where it came from. So anyway, so on, fast forward, so all through those younger years, that was my life. That was my life for my first 13 years, besides school and church and any other commitments that I may have had. But it was mainly dancing, very focused on dancing. Then my father was transferred from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco. When I was 13, and I have to say it was traumatizing. I didn't know it at the time, but I realized it after. And I think it was traumatizing for all four of us because I believe all four of us got into or maybe increased our addiction at that time. And my father became a workaholic, my mother, alcoholic, also workaholic, my brother, alcoholic, drug addict, light, and then it progressed, and me, the food and the sugar, the sweets. Um, so I'm in high school in California. It's a private girls' high school, and I don't fit in. I don't fit in. And so I guess I'm lonely, and I guess I start eating. But the thing with being in dancing school, and when we moved to California, my brother quit. So he was 16, I was 13. And so I was just taking lessons. And I'll tell you, when you're in ballet school and you starting to gain weight, you're in your leotard and tights, the teacher says something to you. And it can be demoralizing, but it's pointed out. So then I saw the older girls, and they were probably starving themselves or maybe bulimic. I don't know, but they didn't eat much. So I tried that. So I started dieting when I was very young and restricting. And it didn't last long because as an addict, um, once I start, I can't stop, and I can't stop myself from starting. We've all heard that, and that is the truth. So I didn't really gain much weight in high school, but then at the end of high school, I told my mom I wanted to go back to New York and get into show business because that's what, she had trained us to do, to be dancers. And we had, my brother and I were almost professional. If anybody remembers the Ted Mack Amateur Hour, we were on it. That's a long time ago. Um, and so I said to my mom, I want to go back to New York and get into show business. And she said, no, no, you're going to college. I did not want to go to college because I didn't like school. I wasn't a school person. But I followed her, demand, and I went to college. And yeah, the first year away at college, away from my mother's control, she did control our food a lot and our snacks. Um, I gained, I think, close to 50 pounds. And she abhorred it and told me so. And then I would get can't you just get some willpower or walk away or any of that stuff? But it was drinking and it was eating. I didn't like the alcohol, so I didn't go down that route. I didn't get that gene, but I got the other one with the food. Um, so I did go to college and I met my husband and toward the end of college, and he proposed to me. And the day he proposed, I said to him, well, I'm flunking one class. It was kinesiology, and my mom said I can't get married until I graduate. So I said, don't, will not tell them until I see what kind of a grade I can get in this kinesiology class. And I did. I passed it, probably barely, with a C minus or a D anyway. And so we got married. And so then lose weight for the wedding, that's the thing. And I did these diets back then that you would send away for, and they would come like in a paper bag. I don't remember what, but it was, they were crazy. My mom told me about the cabbage soup diet. I didn't know about that. And I think Weight Watchers was beginning to start back then. So my husband and I got married. I got, down my weight for my wedding. And then I was pregnant. And guess what? I gained weight. And my mom told me not to gain weight. And I said, well, Mom, you're developing a baby. Yeah, I'm going to gain weight. So anyway, I did gain more than I should have. And so I have five children. So you can imagine up the scale, down the scale, up the scale, down the scale. And as many of us have, I've tried many, many, many diets or solutions. My mom even brought me to a diet doctor in Burlingame, and someone at one of the conventions said his name, and I went, "Oh my God, that's the exact same doctor I went to and got the pills." I don't know what the pills were. They could have been all the things they're giving uppers, whatever, but it helped. I didn't want the food. So anyway, so now I'm like 60 to 65 pounds over what would it be a healthy body weight. Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Should have turned it off. Anyway, I so let me see, that distracted me. Wait a minute, 1 minute. Okay, so I was seeing a therapist uh back in after the fifth child was born because our marriage was kind of wishy-washy. It was hard. You have five kids around the house. It's hard to, you know, um, be focused or be present. And this program has taught me so much about being in the moment and being present for the person I am with rather than all over the place. And I was that way because the five kids, I'm busy. I mean, my son one day said to me, Mom, you never listen to me. And I said to him, you're right. And he and I came up with a little trick. I said, if you need to talk to me, oops, what did I do? Oh God, there we are. If you need to talk to me, say, Mom, I need to talk to you now. And when he'd use the word now, it kind of, oh, yeah, okay. And then I would say, give me 5 minutes, give me 15, or maybe tonight or tonight. So that helped. So I was seeing this therapist, and after 3 years of therapy, this is my entrance, she had sent me to ACA and CODA. And so I told her, I think I have a problem with food. Duh. I think I have a problem with food. And because I was on Weight Watchers and I had lost the weight and I was gaining it back again and again. And she said, well, I'm going to find you a good OA meeting. And I said to her, not another meeting, and it was like, oh my God. So, but I went. She found me one. It was in Oakland. It was at Alta Bates Hospital. I'll never forget. They sold me a copy of, which is falling apart, my big book and the AA 12 and 12. This was about 1989. And I started going to meetings. I wasn't really quite getting it, understanding, getting the grasp, but I kept going to meetings. And then someone introduced me to an offshoot of our program, which is the HOW, no different except it has a meal plan. And I went to that. I did lose my weight. And so I was in there till 95, so 89 to 95, and doing very well. And then my father died, and my best friend from grammar school died of horrible cancer. And the day she died, I picked up sugar and I went on for 4 years. That's what the disease does to us. It wants us, I have this down here. The disease, this is a disease that would love to destroy me while I'm living in the process of killing me. And that's what was happening. It also says, I also have heard, I have a disease that wants me alive, but asleep, not paying attention. Because if I'm dead, it doesn't have a host in which to live. And when I'm not in my body and when I'm not present in the day, the disease can get in there any little way it wants to. And some of us may have had experienced that. So anyway, so I left for 4 years. And then my father had passed away, and I was helping take care of my mother, who was continuing to drink and drive. And I was just so nervous about her. And she was an hour and a half away from me. So I drive over there on my day off, and we do stuff together to try to pay the bills and that stuff. And one day she had upset me so much, and I don't even remember why. I just had to get out of there. And I was driving home. I remember the date, March 8th, 2000. I was on the Bay Bridge. It was pouring rain. And I remember saying, God, have any of us said this? Help me, help me. And I heard 7 a.m. Saturday morning, which was my home meeting. And what I said is, I don't need help with that. I need help with her. I was arguing with God, but I did hear it and it did penetrate. And I got home, and I think 3 days later, I went to a meeting and I have never left the room since. So that's 2020. My abstinence date is 2021, July. I've had, as you see, all kinds of slips and relapses. But what happened then is it's the beginning of COVID. My husband died in 2020, and I was able to stay abstinent about 10, 11 months. And then my family took me to Hawaii, and I just let it go. But I got right back on. That was the good news. I said it to my sponsor. I told her, and I was able to get back on. I had been introduced to the big book in 2015 after a 2-month relapse. by a friend in our rooms. And she also introduced me to the vision meeting, which blew me away. The way these people just pick apart paragraphs. And I fell in love with the big book. And what I learned in studying the big book is that I need to identify in, and I was identifying out. Like I would say to myself, well, I'm not that bad, or I don't have that much weight to lose, or whatever I would say to myself. But then I learned to identify in and really listen to what people were saying, um, in the rooms, on the meetings. And then, of course, Zoom came on, and, our meetings, they changed. And we have people coming from all over the place to meetings, which is nice. But we don't, around here, we don't have a lot of face-to-face meetings, which I do miss occasionally, but I do like the comfort of home. Um, so what turned me around is when she was taking me through the 12 steps through the big book, and we got to step 10. And I also uncovered some things I needed to do in step 9, which I had never done before. I guess maybe because I was clean with the food and these things came up, and it was, financial amends to grocery stores because I had taken stuff out of the bins, along the way and not paid for it. I saw my parents do that, so then I did it. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, it doesn't count if you're not paying for it. Oh God. And I told my sponsor, and she said, well, we need to do financial amends. And those were hard, very, very hard. Face-to-face financial amends. They were received very well for the most part. And I'll tell you, once that amend was done and I gave the money, they give it to the food bank or whatever, those bins are like a hot stove to me now. If I go in the store and I see them, that's not my food. It is like a hot burner. Don't put my hand on it. So, but then my sponsor gets me to step 10, and that's what I want to focus on for the last whatever I have, 10 minutes or so. And and I have a template for this, and if anybody wants it, I can like send it to somebody, maybe Kara, and she could kind of send it out to whoever. So the 10th step, so what the 10th step says is we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And I'll tell you today, I know when I do a wrong, and I promptly do something about it, whether it's making an amends in person over the phone, whether it's paying somebody money I owe, whatever. Anyway, so here's what I do on doing this 10 step. It's pretty simple. That's what I liked. It's not complicated. I can do it in my head. I can write it out, but I always call a person and give it to them. And then I'll tell you the trick at the end. So what is the source of the disturbance and what are the causes and conditions? So the source of my disturbance today is I have too much on my plate to do before I leave for the OA birthday party. Because I like to cook some food before I go to bring it with me, to have it with me in the room. And I've been procrastinating, one of my character defects. So the causes and conditions is because I procrastinate. All right, selfish. I am being selfish because, and I list why I'm being selfish, and you keep it short. I am being selfish because I don't want to do that. I want to just go and eat whatever I want, or go and eat out all the time, which I don't want to do. I don't want to follow my own script, but this isn't a good one. I should do another one. Let me do another one on a person. I am struggling with my youngest daughter, and the source of the disturbance is she needs therapy and medication because she's severe PTSD from being held up at gunpoint and some other things that have happened to her in her life. And um, and also the causes and
10 minutes
conditions.
left, Mo.
Is that 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm switching it to that. So the causes and conditions are what I just said. So selfish. So selfish is I want her to do what I think is best for her, which is seek therapy, get on if she needs medication. Um, the story I tell myself in my head about her situation, it's not for me to tell her. I want to be the director. I want to be her higher power. And then I say this prayer, please, God, remove my selfishness. Dishonest. I am being dishonest. So, dishonest is I lied. I don't want to see the truth. But I've discovered it's also not accepting the truth and not trusting God with this situation, which is what I have come to. Not accepting the truth that she is stubborn and she needs to find this out for herself and trusting God that I know He will guide her. She has her higher power, I have mine. So please, God, remove my dishonesty. Resentful. I am resentful at her. And the reason being is because she won't do this stuff to take care of her health. I think she'd be a much happier person. And I also want to be the director again. And God save me from being angry, thy will not mine be done. Help me show her, there's a sick man's prayer. Help me show her the same pity, tolerance, and patience I would cheerfully grant a sick friend. And then here's what helps me in that. How can I be of service or how can I be helpful? And the way I can be of service is listen to her when we talk on the phone, not doing anything else, pray for her, and answer her questions honestly. So that's that one. And then the fear. So fear is if she doesn't get help, something might happen to her seriously. I don't know. I want her to be well after I leave this earth and to get along with people. So uh, we have two. Well, I say we have three fears: the fear of losing something we have, the fear of not getting what we want, or the fear of being found out. The two are in the big book. The other one I think is from a big book spot, a big book thumper. And what my fear is of not getting what I want, for her to go and get help and be happy again because she's always sad. And so, where is my trust? My trust is in my finite self versus infinite God. And I say, please, God, remove my fear and direct my attention to what you would have me be. And God would have me be, it's an adjective, it's not an action. God would have me be compassionate, kind, loving, supportive, and available. Then I ask God to remove these defects of character. These are the four main ones, and I assume He will. Here's the twist to step 10 that I didn't even know how to do a step 10, but this piece turned me around. Is step 10 is 4 through 9, and now we've done 10, we've done the prayers, 11. Step 12 is I make an outreach call to someone else and I ask them how they're doing, what step they're on, what promises come true, and I don't talk about this. I don't gossip about her. And what that has done for me when I do these 10 steps is it slows down the gerbil in the head that goes on around my daughter. And if it doesn't slow it down, I asked my sponsor, I said, well, I'm still obsessing about blah, blah, blah. And she'll go do another one. And she also had me do them on food dreams. And if you want to know that, is there a chat here that I can put my phone number in? Yeah. Okay. The sun is shining on my screen, so I don't see a lot. But anyway, that's what really helped me uh, understand the 12 steps better and focus on living in the moment and living in the now rather than futurizing or being regretful about the past. So I think that's all I have to say. So thank you for having me here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mo. I love how you really explained your step 10. So thank you. Okay, so we will open the chat to allow you to post questions. So we'll now open the Q&A, which obviously is also being recorded. So if you have a question, I ask that you post it into the chat so that I can ask it for you. Obviously, it's all anonymous, so all questions. Thank you, Mo, for sharing your contact details.
Yeah.
See people typing away, caught us off guard. This is always a good way to wrap up and pick up any loose threads that you suddenly think, oh yeah, I should have said that. So there we go.
Uh,
Here we go. It's the first question. Thank you so much for sharing so clearly about what a solution and a solution focus. Would you mind repeating the three fears, please?
oh, the three fears are fear of not getting what we want, the fear of losing what we have, or the fear of being found out. And with my daughter, it was not getting what I want. And of course, I want it yesterday.
Thank you for the clarity on that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're welcome.
Okay, the next question. Thank you so much for your wonderful share. Can you share more about how, on a daily basis, you kind of connect with your higher power?
Yes. The first thing upon awakening is I have a short little prayer that I say, thank you, God, for another day, for a chance to live in a decent way. How can I be of service? Help me find new ways to be. And I start with that. Then I do my morning chores and stuff. And usually when I'm on a walk, or if not the walk, usually at home in my chair, I say um, the Serenity Prayer and I do the long form. I have all the prayers memorized, the third step prayer, the seventh step prayer, the 11th step prayer, and then upon awakening. I love that prayer upon awakening because it really helps me focus on today. Um, upon awakening, we contemplate the 24 hours ahead, consider our plans for the day. And it's all the way through that. At the end, it says, if I am troubled, I pause and say, you know, I don't have it on the top of my lips, but anyway, I pause and I ask for the right answer or direction. And I find myself connecting with God more throughout the day by doing that pause. I almost want to get a tattoo on my arm that says pause because I will just go, 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 and not learn to stop. My therapist right now is helping me to do work since I'm retired in 45 minutes, do my whatever I'm doing, and then take a 15-minute break. And that 15-minute break, I can sit and relax. I can read, drink tea, water, go outside for a little walk, and connect with God. So I see God almost everywhere, in nature. But, the other day I got a parking spot right up front and I went, thank you, God. I love when I get parking spots, and I don't have to go around and around and around. And so I do that. Well, thank you, God. And then I ask God for help throughout the day. What is the next right action? Sometimes I'm just very much muddled and confused. So that's how I connect. And then in the evening, I do the evening prayer, 11-step evening prayer. And then I go through my day and I see, and I do 10 steps if I need to throughout the day. If not, I do it in my 11-step prayer. So that's that for that. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful, detailed answer, and that answers two people's questions. Somebody else asked us a similar question, so I think that covers yours too. Second person. Okay, so next question. Thank you so much, Mo. What helped you surrender to your powerlessness over food?
All my slips and relapses. I mean, that 4-year one really let me see how that sugar got a hold of me. And yeah, and I was then I thought I surrendered at the 4-year one, but then I surrendered again in 2015 when I couldn't stop. And I said to my sponsor, I know what I'm doing because of this program. They say you can't ever eat the same way once you've been in this program. And so I knew what I was doing. And I said to her, but I still can't stop. And, when I committed to her, that was another surrender. And again in 21, it was less than the 15 one, but it still was a slip. And I recommitted again. And it's been solid since then. Surrender, that's like a daily thing. And one of the things that I never thought I would be doing is I weigh and measure my food all 3 meals a day. I eat 301, 3 meals a day, nothing in between, and one day at a time. And I plan my meals the night before. I've started putting my whole dinner together when I make leftovers for one night and another night. So I have like 3 different containers of my protein and my veggies. So I don't have to be weighing and measuring it every night. I do it in one fell swoop. But surrender is, that's a tough one, but it is a daily thing. And I think God helps me do that.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, next one. Thank you, Mo, for your experience, strength, and hope. How do you keep your program fresh to avoid complacency?
Oh, that's a good question. Keeping it fresh. Well, I do the vision meeting 5 days a week, not always on Sunday. So I start with that in the morning. So that helps me focus. Um, I connect with people, not all the time, but throughout the day. I take newcomers' names. I like doing that and making a call to them because I remember when I started and I got a bunch of calls. That was really very nice. It's always nice to welcome newcomers, and it's harder now on vision meetings because we can't go up to them and hug them or, have a little exchange. But every meeting I'm on, we always say we're going to stay on 15 minutes later. And if anybody new wants to ask questions, so that keeps me fresh. Having a sponsees keeps me fresh, listening to their work and their program. Um, Yeah, that's what just throughout the day, just connecting with God or seeing something. I noticed being abstinent, being clean, that I see things clearer, I hear things with different ears, And I noticed the daffodils are starting to pop up in where I live. And I do my walking around here and I go, "Oh, wow," and I'll tell you, when I was in the food, I didn't notice anything but the food. I just wanted more. Give me more, hey, get me to the grocery store, where can I hide it? I used to hide food a lot. So I think that's what keeps me fresh, staying connected.
Any answers that? Great answer. Okay, so the next person, I'm going to kind of summarize their question, but Mo, have you ever experienced any kind of tricky people in your life that you've possibly had to really work through or perhaps let go?
What was that?
The the person's kind of having some difficulty with people in their life, so they're just kind of looking if do you have any experience, strength, and hope around any really
Oh,
kind of difficult personalities or people you've perhaps
yes.
had to really work on or to let go from your life?
Yes. Okay, I got that. Yes, very much so. Well, number one was my mom, and I didn't get into the rooms until I was much older, and I was able to make amends to her uh, before she passed, but I did not know how to deal with her. Now, because I have program, I do have a difficult person in my life, and she triggers my mother buttons, which is very interesting. And what I am learning from it is she is teaching me. And periodically she will say, and she doesn't do it anymore because I think we've talked, she's also in program. I think we've talked it out. Well, you need to do this, or you should do this, or well, just, and that's what I got from my mom, telling me what to do, even as an adult, telling me how to raise my children, telling me I wasn't doing a good job, whatever it was. That was just her way of, I guess trying to be helpful. But with this person, what I had to do, number one is I did a 10 step. I've done many 10 steps on her. So with mainly with my sponsor, because I don't want to be gossiping. I also have learned she's very needy and she's infirm, so she can't get out like I do. I'm out, I'm walking, I'm, doing service outside of program, volunteering, doing stuff with my church, and she can't do that. So she needs someone to be available for her, and I don't want to be that only person. So we are working through it by I connect with her once a week or maybe twice a week and just say, "How are you doing?" She appreciates that. She doesn't say that to me, but I know she does because when I don't, see, it was like my mom. Oh God, I don't want to get on the phone with my mom. I don't know what she's going to say to me. And so then I would, not answer the phone. In those days, we didn't have an answering machine. Then we got the answering machine. And then she would say on there, "You never call me back." When I called her back, I said, "I'm calling you back." Anyway, so doing a 10 step with on that person, and then continuing to look at what I need to look at to change with that relationship. There's my cat, one of them. And uh, yeah, just working and praying, praying. Bless them. Here's a short prayer. Everybody knows this. Bless them, change me. Bless her, change me. She's a creature of God. So I try to look at it with that attitude. That has helped. But I'll tell you, in the beginning, it was tough. It was really tough. And then when my husband died, it was overbearing because she was telling me that I needed she did a, what do you call it, a when you do an intervention. She and her husband came over to my house and did an intervention with me, and the end of it was I needed therapy. And I told her I'm taking care of myself. But anyway, so I've had to do a lot of work around her. She's one person. There's a few others, but life has either they've moved away or life has gotten better. So I hope that helps.
Oh, thank you, Mo. And to the person who asked the original question, Mo has left her number. If you'd like to contact her directly to discuss the specifics of your question, we were just trying to
Sure.
keep it kind of open-minded. And obviously, this is a recorded format. So,
Yeah, so text to me first because if I don't have your phone number, I don't answer.
okay. I just think the original question kind of needs a one-on-one chat opposed to a recorded format. So
Mhm.
thank you for the person asking that question. Okay, so the next question. So this person is a newcomer and has only been absent a couple of weeks. Mo, could you share more about kind of the early days and how you kind of dealt with kind of cravings and kind of finding
Mm,
abstinence?
okay. Oh, I do remember the early days, and I remember saying, man, this is a lot of work. I didn't ever focus on, I was a grazer, so I didn't focus on meal planning. So that was difficult. I'm trying to think of the cravings back then. Roseanne says in her Beyond My Wildest Dreams, she said the three things that kept her abstinent was step one, having a higher power, and never forgetting her last binge. And the further I get away from my last binge, I forget. That's why I love to listen to newcomers because I can hear my last binge or my last slip or whatever. So the cravings, number one, if it's not a mealtime, get out of the kitchen. Um, I used to say, uh, do something to turn to trick your brain. And the way you do that, if you're sitting, stand. If you're walking this way, turn around and walk that way. If you're in the kitchen, go into another room or go outside, go for a walk, drink water. So something to stop the craving, because the craving starts in the mind. This is what I learned. I didn't know about I didn't understand the mental obsession for a long time. It starts here in my mind, and then I keep listening to it. And the more I listen to it, then I give in to it. That's this disease. So if it starts in my mind and I hear it, and especially for the newcomer, make a call. Tell somebody you're obsessing about whatever the food is or whatever the craving is. And they will walk you through it, help you through it. Just even talking helps. And talking to another compulsive eater is so helpful because you guys understand. For years, my mom, I know I keep bringing her up, but she was hard. Did not, and I didn't understand my disease at that point, but she just didn't understand me. Why I couldn't get some willpower. So that's one thing that I did, or a couple of things. The other thing is, I planned my meals ahead of time. I knew exactly what I was going to eat, and I had that food in the refrigerator. I did, there was other food in the house because I had kids and I had my husband, and that was their food. I had to tell myself that's their food. You don't touch it. And when I have parties, I say to people, bring your own alcohol, bring your own sweets, because I don't do that. But anyway, dealing with the cravings in the mind is really that's where it starts. So just I would say the best thing is make a phone call or do some writing or praying. There's we have all those tools. So welcome to the
Absolutely,
newcomer.
absolutely welcome to OA, welcome home. Good, glad you have us. Glad you came to find us today. Okay, we've probably got a time for a few more questions. And the next question says, where have you experienced the most emotional sobriety and recovery? And what would you suggest to a sponsee to work through this?
Where
Where have you experienced the most
what's
emotional sobriety in
where
recovery?
have I experienced that? Whoa, that's a good question. Whew, let me think for a minute. Because emotional abstinence is definitely a part of our program. Because well, you know what? I'm going to go back to that step 10. When I'm off kilter, when I'm off the beam, when I'm off balance, my emotions are going cuckoo. And then I do the step 10, which helps. But where have I experienced the most emotional abstinence? I would say, like, it's hard to pinpoint it because I've had periods of them and I don't have that all the time. Um, I think, you know what? It was when I first started studying the Big Book in 2015 that I really was able to listen to my emotions, feel my emotions. And then I got a very big opportunity when my husband died to just sit with those emotions. I was in a grief group for a period of time, and they would say emotions are like roller coasters. They come and they go. They don't last forever. So if I could just sit with the pain, sit with the sadness, sit with the grief, and let it pass, that really helped me. But I think when I had the most emotional abstinence was back in 2015 when I started studying the Big Book.
Brilliant. And another person asks, can you share about more about your sponsorship style and how you kind of 12-step others through the steps?
Okay, my sponsorship style is I used to be a little tougher than I am now, but if somebody asked me to sponsor them and I felt I could take on a person, I would ask them two questions. Number one, are you desperate? And number two, are you willing to go to any length? Those are both in the Big Book. This cat just doesn't want to leave me alone. And then there's a third one that was added is, are you willing to give up all control and get correction? So I would ask them that, and I asked them to write on that. And then I would send out how I sponsor to them. So my sponsoring is we set a time frame. It's a 15-minute phone call. And I give them, I have Big Book questions that my 2015 sponsor developed, and they answer those. I take them through all the steps. Um, and okay, we start off. I start my morning when they call, when a sponsee calls, I say, okay, let's do our prayer. And the prayer is we take a breath in. This is called ocean breathing. Take a breath in, hold, and release. And that's another thing I do sometimes throughout the day. If you do that 3 times, my whole body just calms down. But I do that in the morning with the sponsee, and then we do the serenity prayer. We do either the we version or the I version. And then I ask them, what question they have written on, and if they get beyond the questions, I have more, and then we can go through the For Today book or, that. So we do the reading and writing, and then we end. That's how I sponsor. And I have them email me every night, um, 3 gratitudes, their focus for the next day, and their food plan.
Brilliant. Thank you for that response. And I think probably the last question or more of a information point, somebody was asking, can you share more details about the vision meetings?
Vision meeting is on 5 days a week. If you look up, I can give you is it all right to give the website since we're recording? All right, it's called A Vision, the number 4U.info. So that's all letters, A and the VISION, the number 4YOU.info. That'll pull you up to their webpage. It'll show you all the meetings. There are 2 meetings a day, one at 7 a.m. Eastern Time and one at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. They're both recorded. There is an 8 a.m. one Eastern Time that is not recorded, but they're doing the same thing. And then nothing on Saturday, but on Sunday, there is a special focus meeting where someone, like I just did today, shares for 45 minutes. And then there's questions and answers after that. They share on a specific topic. And it's going through the Big Book. And then when we finish the 164 pages, we go back and start over. And so right now we're in Bill's story. And this morning we did page 13. So I enjoy it. People listen to it on their way to work. They can listen to it. It's recorded afterwards. All the recordings are on that site from when it started in 2012. And it is a part of OA, a acknowledged group of OA. And there's 11,000 people registered. I mean, it's huge. It's all over the world. Thank you for having me.
We're blessed to have had you, Mo. Thank you. And just to clarify to that person with the last question, it's a US-based phone meeting, so you'd have to have an international call plan to call into the meetings. It's not a Zoom meeting. It's by
Oh,
telephone.
true. Thank you.
The
The
person asked for
phone
the Zoom
numbers will be
details.
on there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the phone number is on the website and the access code. Okay, and I think that has brought us oh, somebody just quickly asked, can you just remind us of the 3 questions you asked your sponsees? What was the third one?
The third one, are you willing to go to any length to get direction? That was the third one. First one is, are you desperate? Second one is, are you desperate? Now, why did I forget it? Oh, are you desperate? Oh, well, maybe that's one. Are you willing to go to, no, are you desperate? Oh, I can't remember the second one, guys. Help me, somebody. One of my
It's on the
sponsees.
recording. They can find it on the
Okay, all
recording. It's
right,
fine.
all right.
No worries. It's just if you had it to hand, they just asked.
Yeah.
It's no problem. Okay, that has brought us to time. Thank you again so much, Mo, for sharing this hour with us and sharing your experience, strength, and hope. I've really needed this and I've really enjoyed listening to you. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome.